How about we get him a real attorney? Man, what the hell is this? This is who he hires?
What? Are you kidding me? This is the guy you want.
Better Call Saul is so great that it could even be a literally fiction book. Not just a fiction book, but an actually good literally fiction book that could add value to the world of literature. And why is that? In this video, I'm gonna talk about Jimmy McGill, Kim Wexler, and also about the exceptional storytelling in this show. Do you remember a scene in which Kim says that I'm too sad, I'm full of regrets, I feel too guilty to make any other decision because my previous decisions were total mistakes that blew everything up and I made others people's life worse, and I don't want to make any more decision because I don't want to blow everything up again? Do you remember that? No, because these kind of scenes doesn't exist in the show. And Kim Wexler doesn't express her feelings directly like this. Instead, her actions are so delicately well directed that we can understand that's how she's feeling. In one scene, she's supposed to choose a type of ice cream between two types of ice cream. She cannot decide. And in another scene, she's supposed to decide to whether use a specific kind of sauce for the food she's cooking, and she cannot decide either. Not many shows have this level of depth that even decisions about ice cream and sauce have deep meanings and effective function in the narrative. Kim's fear of making decisions is understood by us by these kinds of actions. Her feelings of sorrow and guilt are in front of our faces, but not with the exact words of sorrow and guilt and fear of making decisions, but by her actions. And the important part is that she herself is not aware of her feelings. And that's very realistic because in real life, people who are traumatized, many of them are not aware of their feelings and they are in denial. And Kim Wexler is also traumatized. Good literature is similar to real life. And in a good story like Better Call Saul, that's the case too. Or another one. Do you think there is any scene in which a character says that Kim is a smart, strong character?
But you, one of the smartest and most promising human beings I've ever known.
Well, apparently there is.
Why are you telling me this and not him?
Because I think you're made of sterner stuff.
Okay, I get it, there is. But that's not the reason that we know that she's a smart and strong character. We know these things about her because of her actions.
Look, okay.
Are you kidding me with this?
Kim,
Do you know what he did for you? $7 million of your money. He hauled it across a goddamn desert without one penny missing. And he got you out of jail for a murder that, let's face it, you're definitely guilty of.
That's what I'm talking about. Or her love for Jimmy. 99% of the time, the love that they have for each other is not shown with exact words, but by their behaviors. For example, here, they're not talking about their love for each other precisely, but the way Kim looks at Jimmy shows the love she has for him. This is how great authors build a well-crafted character and give life to their characters. This is how we feel, how she feels, by her small, subtle, and detailed behaviors in her various slices of her life. Not just flat out direct banners in front of our faces telling us that, well, this character is strong, is intelligent, and hardworking. Please like her. And why should you like her? Because she is likable. And why is she likable? Because I tell you so, and I already gave you the adjectives. Well, good authors show instead of throwing the adjectives on the audience. And well, this is the superpower of showing instead of telling. And this is why I think that this show can teach aspiring authors how to build a realistic character with believable behaviors. And this is one of the reasons that I think this show feels like a literally masterpiece to me. And now, dear Jimmy.
Seriously, when the going gets tough, you don't want a criminal lawyer, right? You want a criminal lawyer. Know what I'm saying?
The journey from being Jimmy McGill to becoming Saul Goodman and then Gene is so relatable even if you're not a criminal lawyer. It's relatable because we are all human beings with our own dark sides. And understanding what he's doing is not the same as justifying what he's doing. We are understanding his actions, but we're not okay with his actions. From the dynamic and the relationship that he has with his brother, we understand that he wants to feel validated. He wants to be respected by his brother. He wants to feel loved by his dear ones, like his brother and Kim. Even Walter White is kind of a replacement for his brother. Both Walter and Chalk do not trust Saul Goodman as a respectful lawyer. So Jimmy has that history with his brother, and Kim Wexler has that other history with her mother. And these histories kind of led them into not so very great situations. This is another reason why this show has very well written characters. For me, these two characters are two of the best characters ever written, and not just in the world of movies and TV shows and in the movie industry, but also in the whole fictional world, including books and novels. I think these two characters are two of the best fictional characters ever written. And not the exceptional storytelling. Well, the story stays with us even long after it's ended. And why is that? Well, some elements in stories can strengthen the impact. For example, flashbacks can shed more light on the motive of the story. Actually, the last episode starts with a flashback.
First thing we do, take $6 million and build a time machine. Those people that you're worried about, they would never find us. Where would you go first, huh?
And Saul asks Walter White this same question.
Hey, you're a scientist, right? So I have a question. What would you do if you had a time machine?
So Walter and Mike get to talk about their regrets, and their answers suit their personalities very well.
Oh, Christ. Are you kidding me? Quantum mechanics? We're discussing that now? Stay in your lane.
Which takes us back to the fact that this show has very magnificently well-written characters. Mike's answer manifests his wisdom. He wants to go back to the day he did his very first act of crime.
Day I took my first bribe.
He knows that crime was kind of small in comparison to what he's doing now, but he knows that that was that very first act of crime that led him into the world of criminals, and him becoming one of them. There's another flashback, which is a conversation between Saul and his brother Chalk, which also emphasizes the theme of regret in the last episode. And there's also a time machine book on the counter in that scene, which is like the Chekhov's gun. And what is the Chekhov's gun? Chekhov is one of the greatest Russian authors of all time, and one of his recommendations to aspiring writers is, if in the first act you have hung a pistol on the wall, then in the following one it should be fired. Otherwise, don't put it there. The Time Machine book is the gun that Chekhov talked about. That book shed more light on the theme of regret, and it brought more light to those two previous flashbacks with Mike and Walter, and overall these all three flashbacks together impressed the final court scene favorably.
I was more than a willing participant. I was indispensable.
So the flashbacks, details, and objects in this show enhance the impact. They unite to convey the message vividly. That's another component that makes Better Call Saul feel like a literally masterpiece. Now in the last episode, it's Saul's turn to face his regrets. Is he gonna deny them like he did for all those years? Is he gonna change his path? Oh god. Okay, that sound stopped. So now it's Saul's turn to face his regrets, and it's his turn to choose.
We all make choices, right? And those choices, they put us on a road. And the road has good choices and it has bad choices. Bad choices lead to bad roads that lead to bad places.
You know, there's a book that is one of my favorite books of all time. I love it, and it is East of Eden. East of Eden and Better Call Saul are similar to each other in some ways because they both discuss the human being's ability to choose. We all know that there are good and evil inside of us all. So if you liked Better Call Saul, I totally recommend East of Eden to you too. We all have the good and the evil inside of us. And as Jordan Peterson notes, I don't think that you have any insight whatsoever into your capacity for good until you have some well-developed insight into your capacity for evil. Some people show their dark sides more than other people. Saul Goodman is one of those people. Some characters in East of Eden are like that too. In both Better Call Saul and East of Eden, these questions are asked and answered. Are these people inherently bad people? Don't they have the opportunity to change their path and be the opposite of what they have been even after a long time?
Jimmy, if you don't like where you're heading, there's no shame in going back and changing your path.
Jimmy McGill has both good sides and dark sides, like all of us.
This guy, any good?
When I knew him,
He also wants to feel loved and respected, and he wants to feel validated too, like the rest of us. But the thing is, you know, when you are in a hole, stop digging. We all know that. But when it actually comes to reality, when we are actually in that position, it's very hard to think clearly because of the darkness in that hole. We may even forget that, well, yes, I'm in this deep hole and it's dark and I feel just miserable, but well, I can't stop digging. We really can't forget that. And Saul Goodman is in that position too in the last episode. Even, to be honest, when I was watching the last episode, I was thinking that, well, it can't be better. He cannot survive. How can he make things better? It's been a long time that he's been making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. How can he make it? But then the transition comes.
That night I saw opportunity.
The digging stops.
My every waking moment was spent building Walter White's drug empire.
He changes the path.
If he hadn't walked into my office that day, Walter White would have been dead or behind bars within a month.
And finally, the redemption begins. He chose love and respect.
I wanted her to hear this.
He chose a peaceful mind. He chose to be Jimmy McGill other than Saul Goodman, or even worse, Gene. We also can choose to be who we want to be. When he goes to prison, he has respect in prison. He has peace in prison. And also, the best part is, he has love. May love become the savior as a light in all that darkness.